Tembisa Hospital has been absolutely ransacked by a set of criminal networks, different criminal networks, who each of them have created sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands of shell companies that have managed to secure tenders and service provision contracts at Tembisa Hospital, and over the years stole over 2 billion rand. Over 2 billion rand from a single hospital. SIU spoke about a raft of criminal syndicates, a couple of them really big. The first one we've spoken about before, which is the Maumela syndicate. You may remember Hangwani Maumela, who is the nephew by a previous marriage, not blood, of President Cyril Ramaphosa, but nonetheless is the nephew of Cyril Ramaphosa by a previous marriage. It seems as though this syndicate made 816 million rand from 1,728 transactions through what is called a three-quote system. The transactions were done through a raft of different companies. 3 of those companies were awarded contracts to the value of 13 million rand to the Maumela syndicate and are linked to Kat Matlala. Here's the link with what I'm going to talk about with Dumisani Khumalo in a bit. And as we spoke about a few weeks ago on the show, the list of assets that the asset forfeiture unit went and grabbed from Maumela is jaw-dropping. 293 million rands worth of properties across the country, including in Bantry Bay in the Western Cape, which is Lani as hell, in Sandton, in Zimbabwe Estate, in Durban, in Hartbeespoort in Northwest. Unreal. Also, numerous luxury vehicles, the party boat that I mentioned earlier, all of this, and then what is it? 1 Bentley, 4 Lamborghinis, all this other insane stuff purchased off of stolen money from a hospital. So that's just one of the criminal syndicates. There's another one called the Mazibuko Syndicate, linked to somebody called Rudolph Mazibuko, made 283 million rand from 651 transactions. They were done through numerous front companies again, and assets purchased from those, or at least seized to try and recover that money, includes 8 properties in the Western Cape and Gauteng. Then there's Syndicate X, and it's not yet been attributed to someone within that syndicate. They made 500 million, more than 596 million rands worth from 1,251 transactions. They crucially are part of the paying of bribes. 122 million rands worth in kickbacks were paid to crooked Gauteng Health Department officials. And who is the Gauteng Health Department run by? You know the answer. This is such a jaw-dropping, such an evil and horrifying web of corruption at, again, just one hospital that fundamentally implicates powerful people, department officials, politicians and politicians' families, and specifically ANC politicians and ANC politicians' families, and links to everything we are hearing at the Madlanga Commission.
You are not angry enough. We, as a people, are not angry enough. I'm angry that we fight over such petty things. We fight over color, foreigners, or foreign-owned spaza shops. Yes, there are some issues there. But the fact that we fight over that versus what's going on that is so much larger, it is our fault for putting all that effort into fighting against them, the foreign owners, fight against colored identity versus white identity versus Indian identity, and not realize we are South African. You don't realize that we have a common problem. I'm angry that we fight over the most stupid things. You all know what happened to her. This is Babita Deokaran, who raised alarms at Tembisa Hospital procurement because there were irregular payments going out that ranged from millions upon millions. And when she blocked it, she knew her life would be in danger. She informed the CFO. They did nothing. And then a few months later, she was taken out. There are good people who are trying to do their jobs, but they can't because the criminal entities are much larger and more powerful. And they get away with it because you and I, on TikTok and everywhere else, we fight over foreigners. We fight over skin color. That's a shame. Because, the latest reports have come through. The report shows what Babita was trying to tell us. 2 billion rands was looted from one public hospital, just one, in a matter of a few years. These were the players. Third one being X. We don't know who that is. Very likely a high-ranked politician. That's why he's not being named, or they are not being named. 2 billion rands. Tell me again, is the Zimbabwean or Namibian or Malawian worker the real problem? I ask you honestly. What do one of them do with that money? Look at this. 4 Lamborghinis, 1 Bentley. Oh my God. 250 million rands in just car purchases. Willy-nilly. From public hospital money. We have women who are giving birth on the floor because of not having enough beds, or they're dying because of a basic cut and they don't have antiseptics. We have to rely on very expensive private hospitals because the public hospitals are being ruined. And they're being ruined because you allow it to happen. You are not angry enough. We are angry and we fight over the wrong things always. I mean, look at this. 520 million rands in just identified assets with properties worth 290 million rands. And you're fighting over skin color and foreign IDs and what. There won't be justice until you say there must be. They will just put this under the carpet and carry on. Unless you don't let them. Unless you take action.
This is corruption at a staggering scale. Tembisa Hospital, 2 billion rand siphoned out of it.
There were transactions that were done, the POs, but the modus operandi was that they would do all these transactions. They are not necessarily tenders. They would just do transactions that are below 500,000, and they do many of them to the point that it reaches 2 billion rand.
Let me just interject this, so just so that we understand the terms of these officials. You're saying there are about 15 officials that were helping these criminals loot the money, and they were receiving to the value of 115 million rand paid out to these officials, 15 of them. 122 million rand paid out to these officials. When you're saying clerk, these are all people that are working at Tembisa hospitals.
Some are in Tembisa Hospital, some are in the Department of Health in the province.
I don't even know if I want to call him businessman, but we've got, the Maumela businessman, the Maumela syndicate that's linked to businessman Hangwani Morgan Maumela.
He generally got the biggest chunk of this 2 billion rand. I think over 800 million went to this syndicate. And then he bought properties. There were properties to the value of one of the properties in Bantry Bay he bought for 75 million. And he then, cash alone, he has bought cash to the value of more than 238 million, cash alone. And then the others are properties in KZN, in Gauteng, in the Western Cape, Thames Bay, and all of those places. All of those are the properties that this particular syndicate bought.
People from Tembisa can agree with me, Ukuti, this is how the hospital in Tembisa looks like. There is this section that was burned down earlier this year. In a fire, there's this section that is abandoned because in such a poor condition, so patients are not allowed to use it. And the ANC government thought, well, you know what? Let's steal money from them. Let's steal 2 billion rand. That 2 billion rand could have repaid this section and many other sections that are in poor condition at Tembisa Hospital. And I know Ukuthi bakhona abantu base Tembisa who can agree with me Ukuthi they have lost loved ones in this hospital. And I'm going to be honest with you, your loved ones died because the ANC thought Ukuthi buying life-saving medicine for them or hiring enough nurses to save their life was not important. They thought Ukuthi buying a Ferrari was more important. Like 2 billion rand could have helped many sections of this hospital. But no, the government thought Ukuthi, you know what? If Ferrari was more important than the lives of people from Tembisa and Midrand, because this hospital is used by a lot of people in Tembisa and a lot of people who can't afford medical aid in Midrand. As someone who has been to Tembisa Hospital, who has seen the condition of that hospital, it's so sad to find out that 2 billion rand is stolen. And I'm asking you, Mr. Tembisa, don't you ever vote for that ANC? No matter what the candidate of the ANC promises you in a municipal election, ningaphinde ninike chance. Ningaphinde ninike chance. And I'm going to ask you guys, do it in memory of the loved ones you have lost in this hospital.